Hello and welcome back. This is Polly and you are watching The Great Golly. Today we are going to do a basic introduction on how to use Photoshop to animate. Now if you can see there, I'm selecting 1920 by 1080 pixels. This is the most common resolution, so we will be using this today. After selecting Create, you should see this workspace. Now I want you to go up to Window and go all the way down to Timeline and click that. Then we're going to Create Frame Animation, and a new frame will appear at the bottom of the timeline. And you can click the Add New Frame icon to add new frames. The corresponding layers will appear in the layer panel. And by clicking the same icon in the layer panel, you can add a new layer to your frame. Now, I'm going to be using red and blue as my sketching colors, but of course you can use the colors that you prefer to use. Now in the brushes panel, I'm going to use a hard brush and lower the opacity, and I will also be turning on the pressure sensitivity button just to the right of that. Now today I'm going to be sketching just a simple angry square dancing. Now please keep in mind, this is not a video to teach you how to animate. This is a video teaching you how to use Photoshop to animate. So in future videos we can just focus on the animation aspect of the tutorial. So think of this video as basically tutorial 0 instead of 1. Now it looks like our little square dude is all sketched out. So what we're going to do is press Command J to duplicate and Command T to transform. We're going to grab the edges and rotate to put him at a little angle for his dance. And when you're happy with where he is, you can press the tick or enter, and we will then again duplicate him one more time with Ctrl J and Command T to rotate. And you can turn off the visibility of other layers by clicking the eyeball there. Now I'm just going to angle him slight bit more, and I look happy with that, and you can press the tick again to confirm the transformation. Now we're going to go in and start animating his legs. His face is perfectly fine, so we'll leave that as, but we're going to go around with our eraser. You can also press E to select your eraser, or select the eraser from the left hand side of the panel. Now we're just erasing his legs there, and then we will go in and we will turn on the middle layer where the square is standing on the ground, and we will look to see where his feet meet the ground. So there will be no slippage when we animate his remaining feet. I've also just deleted those extra layers up in the corner to make things more clear. Again, selecting our brush, we're going to go in and we're going to draw one leg kind of bent up in the air like that. Now this one is the one that's off the ground. The next leg will have to be firmly on the ground, but it will be slightly more bent because he'll be putting more of his weight on this leg as he's leaning on it. Then we go back and we put our opacities back up, and we switch to the next frame that needs to be animated. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to put in the middle frame where he's sitting on the ground, lower the opacity, and now we will begin to work on the feet, but do the exact opposite this time. The other leg will be leaning more on the ground, and his other leg will be up in the air like this. And so once you're happy with the posing, you can turn off the middle layer and you can turn the opacity of the middle one back up. The reason this happened is because when you turn the opacity down on the first frame, it will affect all the frames, so we'll just turn that back up. And I'm just going to change the speed of the frame duration to 0.2 so it won't be too quick. Now I'm happy with that. You can press the space bar to play your animation, or the little play button down below, but we just need to add one more frame, and we're going to do that by pressing plus, and we're going to put him solid on his feet on this one so it will loop. Okay, did I find it? Just watch me struggle to try and find it. Oh, there it is, and obviously we turned the opacity back up for the reason I explained earlier. And then when you press play, it loops over nicely. He's just stomping around, not a very happy square dude at all. Next, we're going to go into cleanup. Now, you can press X to change the color to red, or you can click on the red to turn it red. And just clean him up a bit, so he's not so sketchy, so you know what you're doing when you're going to color and line him. Now, this process might take a little while if it's a long animation, but since it's only a short guy, we're just going to do it like this. The reason we are using blue and red as our sketching colors is because in the traditional days when things were done on paper, Blue and red were used because blue wouldn't show up on the scanners that printed out black lines onto the celluloid for painting, and then red was used to correct the initial sketch. If you're interested to learn more about how traditional animation worked, I've been thinking of maybe doing a video about that in the future. And now we go back to our hard brush and we put the opacity all the way up again, and we're just going to trace the outline of the square. I decided for this the animation will mostly be lineless just to make it easier. Now we're just filling it in there. And again we're going to press Command J to duplicate and Command T to transform. And once you have the angles happy, you can just fill in just bits there along the edge that don't quite match, and he's away dancing. Then we're going to change our color and we're going to do the legs. Now for the legs I gave them a bit more of an outline just to make them a bit more thick, and we're going to do a little ridge on top, if you can see that there, just to give him a bit more dimension even though he is just a flat square. Poor little guy. I wonder if that's why he's so mad. Anger issues aside, I forgot to mention I've put the initial rough sketch layers in a folder. You can do this by pressing the folder icon and dragging the desired frames into the folder, or you can also click the first layer and select the last layer with shift click and then press folder, and you will have them all compiled into a nice folder. Now I've created some new layers here just for the top angry face, and it seems I'm quite happy with that, but I have decided to change the color. Now to change the color I didn't do anything fancy, I just went through the layer styles until I found one I liked. This one happened to be luminosity. Then we can put them into a folder using the click shift click folder method, and clicking on the folder name we can rename it, and I have renamed it to color. You can see after putting them into a folder, the layers have disappeared from the frames in the timeline below. You can fix this by turning the visibility on and off on the first frame. We've discussed this before as to why this happens. Next, we're just going to do a little bit of a background. In the lower corner we can select the fill bucket, or you can press Shift G until the fill bucket appears on your icon. I've painted it blue and I've added some spotty little texture brush to the background just to give him a bit of more personality. And we're almost done now, we just need to get him ready to export. Selecting all the frames on your timeline, I want you to press the new frame button to duplicate these frames. This is so we have a bit of a longer loop, because in the video he's only going to do that once, as we have it selected in the bottom left hand corner that it's going to loop forever, but when we export the video it won't loop forever, so we just need to have that bit more frames going on there. And now we select File, Export, Render Video, and we can change the file name to whatever you'd like. I'm naming mine Little Angry Square Dude, and we can select the folder. I have mine set to desktop, but you might want to save yours to documents or wherever you prefer to save. And just press the choose button when you're satisfied of where you're sending it. We're going to use Adobe Media Encoder rather than Photoshop Image Sequence and QuickTime. Photoshop Image Sequence will just export it as images. Everything else we're just going to leave as and press render. This might take a few seconds depending on the length of your animation, but since ours is short, it won't take very long. Then you have your video right there, and click it open. Mine's converting. And there we go, we have our little square guy all in a little video. Now go to the top bar and press view, and we're just going to down and press loop so we can watch it over and over. And there he is, our little angry square guy, stomping around as angry little square guys do. And then we'll just X out of this video, and don't forget to save your now converted file. Press save to desktop, and it will have your now saved little angry dude converted and saved on your desktop, ready to play anytime you'd like. And I've saved the most important thing for last. Saving. Do not forget to save. We go File, Save As, rename it to maybe Little Square Dude, whatever you want, and we can save it to any location we like. Again, that could be desktop or documents, wherever you like to save your files, and make sure it's Photoshop so we can edit it again later. Just press OK and you're good to go. Now if you go into Photoshop and you close your panel, you can click on your Photoshop file and it will open back up. If you take anything away from this video, please remember to save your work while you're working. This can be done by Command S. Again, this is super important. Please do this or you will lose your work and you will be very upset and angrier than the little square dude we have just animated today. And this ends our tutorial on how to use Photoshop to animate. This is Polly and you have been watching The Great Golly. Thank you and goodbye.